Hi, I'm Christy Ryan. People ask me often, is this a good thing to eat? Should I be eating this food? And one of the best ways to know is to look at the label. So we're going to review labels today. When you shop, if you stay on the outside of the store where you get your fruits and vegetables and your dairy and you pick low-fat dairy and your lean meats and your breads and cereals, whole grain breads, then those are the least processed foods, even though the bread's going to be slightly processed. But the middle foods are what you want to be careful of, the middle aisles, and that's where you really want to check the label. So this is Kashi Goleen cereal, which seems healthy, but let's check out the label. So the first thing you want to look at is the list of ingredients. So soy grits, honey puffed kashi, hard red wheat, brown rice, honey, cane syrup, barley, oats, so a whole bunch of grains, some cane syrup again, some cornmeal, some soy protein, flour, different kinds of flour. The first ingredient is what it has the most of. So when you're looking at the first few ingredients, you want it to be hopefully something whole grain if you're looking at a grain product. And, this is a higher protein cereal, so the soy grits come first for the protein. But, then we have the kashi blend, which is a bunch of whole grains. You want to try to keep the sugars out of the first three ingredients, but sometimes when you get a processed food, that can be difficult. But check the ingredients first. Then you want to come up and look at the label as a whole. So it's going to have the serving size. This is a cup, 160 calories. All of these values are for a cup. So if you pour this cereal into your bowl and you have a quart-sized bowl, chances are you're going to have more than a cup. So then you're going to have to multiply all of this by how many more cups you had per serving. The best thing to do is to keep it to one serving or less. But then you have to be careful too, because sometimes the serving size is the whole container. Like if you buy a bag of chips and it's 1.5 ounces of chips and it says 1 serving per bag, 1.5 ounces is not a normal serving, 1/2 ounce is. So you have to be careful there. You know if you're eating a processed food that has some junk in it and it's not really a high value food, don't eat very much of it. All right, so calories. We also have calories from fat. Now, we want to try to keep our calories from fat less than about 30% or less than a third of our total calories. So you can do the math there. When you're eating non-processed foods like nuts and olive oils and avocados, the calories from fat are going to be a lot more because it is a fat product. But it is a good fat. So those you just want to watch the portion size. So it has listed the type of fat. You're going to mainly look at the total fat to see how much fat is in your serving, but pay attention to saturated fats. Saturated fats come from animal sources, and they do tend to cause a little more heart risk when we have high saturated fats. Polyunsaturated and monounsaturated tend to be the healthier fats. They come from plants oils, nuts, olives, that kind of thing, fish. Trans fats are man-made fats. So if you're looking at your ingredient list, you want to really try to get foods that have no partially hydrogenated oils in it. So that's what trans fats come from, partially hydrogenated oils. And trans fats do a lot of damage to our arteries and veins, so we want to keep that trans fat value to 0. On a label, a product can have 0.5 gram in it and it can still say 0. So, just always try to keep 0 for trans fat. You don't really need to keep track of your cholesterol necessarily, especially on packaged products. Sodium, though, is a big deal. The recommended daily allowance, or what the government says is allowed for sodium, is 2,400 milligrams, which is still a lot. So, again, the more whole food you can eat, the lower your sodium would be. But I would say, just try to keep this as low as possible. Sometimes cereals have 350 milligrams of sodium in it just because, and that's just not necessary. So try to keep that low. Your total carbohydrate includes your fiber and your sugars. And so your fiber, you want to have about 3 grams per every 100 calories. But for the day, you want to get about 25 to 35 grams of fiber in your diet every day. Now, if you have a whole food like a fruit or vegetable, you might have to look up on the internet what the fiber is. But if you're looking at a package, especially cereal, try to get some cereal with some fiber in it. As long as you're eating cereal, you might as well get fiber in it. So they have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber does tend to help cholesterol a little more, but just getting a diet that is full of fiber is just helpful for our digestive systems all around, and it keeps us full longer. We can keep full on less calories if the food we eat has a lot of fiber in it. And then your sugars, just be careful of your sugar. Four grams of sugar is a teaspoon. So if your product has 9 grams, that's still 2 teaspoons of sugar. So eat whole foods as much as possible. Even natural sugars are better than sugars that have been added. And when you check the ingredient list, there's like 40 or 50 different names for sugar. There can be honey and cane syrup and high fructose corn syrup. And those kind of things don't have really any nutrition in them, so we don't want to be eating a lot of it. So just try to keep your sugar low. But again, the main thing when you look at a label, check the ingredients. If there's a whole bunch of ingredients, maybe it's a little more processed than you want. This Kashi cereal actually has quite a few because of all the different kinds of grains that are in their Kashi blend. But normally you want to try to keep a processed food with less than 3 ingredients, which is difficult. But try to eat whole foods more often, and you're not going to have to deal with that then. Then you want to look up here at the serving size, calories per serving, and then calories from fat compared to your total calories. Those are some guidelines to help you know if it's really a high fat and high calorie product, and how much of it should you eat. Normally when you're eating grains, whether it's a cereal or rice or pasta or any kind of grain, a half a cup is a serving. So check what it has and try to alter your serving accordingly. So I hope that helps. I hope it gives you some ideas on just some basic guidelines to check when you're looking at labels so that you can tell on your own, is this a good, healthy food, or is this kind of tricking me? Like some chips will say made with sea salt or no cholesterol. Doesn't mean they're healthy. So check the ingredients and you'll be on your way to making better processed food choices. But as a whole, try to eat whole foods the most and processed foods last. I'm Christy Ryan with Christy Ryan Fitness. Let me know if you have some questions.